Hello everybody and welcome. This is Adrian. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's time for some Europa Universalis IV, but this is going to be a strategy guide, a start guide for Novgorod, actually, in the 1.24 Japan patch. So I wanted to give you guys some tips on how to start a successful campaign as Novgorod. So let us go ahead and jump right in. So some of the first moves as Novgorod is you're going to want to get up to your force limit. I believe at the beginning of the game it is 17 units. You're going to want to start improve relations with Poland and Austria. You're going to want to fabricate some claims on the Livonians. And one of the most important steps actually is number 4. You will be declared on by Muscovy. And there's no way, at least in my mind, to defeat Muscovy. Or if you can, it's very, very difficult. I say peace out immediately. As you can see here in what just occurred, you can actually peace out with Muscovy fairly, you can give them a few like 3 development, 4 development provinces, and you still maintain, your treasury, your manpower, your military, and you peace out to fight Muscovy another day, essentially. After you peace out with Muscovy in that beginning declaration, which will inevitably occur, it occurs basically 100% of the time. Muscovy does declare Novgorod basically 100% of the time. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to attack Tver and the Livonian Order. Tver usually has no allies at the start of the game. You can fabricate a claim on them real quick and attack them. You sometimes even get a mission to instantly get some claims on Tver, and you can go ahead and take him out. And he might ally Odiev or Ryazan sometimes, but usually annihilating Tver is actually pretty easy and pretty simplistic. Now the big person to attack is actually, I would say, the Livonian Order. So the Livonians usually ally Riga and the Teutonic Order almost 100% every time. 100% just it happens 100% of the time. And one of the strategies of starting as Novgorod is, because you're larger than the Livonian Order, you're more powerful, you can take out the Livonians by themselves pretty easily. You can even take them out in alliance with Riga. Now the Teutons are always declared on by Poland. Lithuania almost always 100% of the time declares on the Teutonic Order. So starting as Novgorod, you're going to want to attack the Livonians when the Teutons will not join. Riga can join in, but if you play your cards right, you can actually defeat the Livonian Order and Riga together in one war, especially since you're bigger. Your army is larger than either of their 2 armies. You can use the factions of your Merchant Republic to your advantage. I usually stick with the aristocratic faction, which gets you morale of armies plus 5%. And I also like to focus on military tech. I like to prioritize military tech almost exclusively. And since you have a Merchant Republic, you get to choose your leaders. You get to decide which category military points, or which category of monarch points that you're going to focus on. So almost always military tech is what you're going to want to focus on. And really, that's the beginning moves of Novgorod. Is you're going to want to attack Tver, annex Tver. You're going to want to either annex or vassalize the Livonian Order. In this specific start, I actually vassalized the Livonian Order. I just thought it was easier for me. And finally, the thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to ally either Poland, Austria, and possibly Denmark. Denmark was actually hostile to me in this start. They start off hostile to you kind of often, I would say. So maybe going for an alliance with Denmark is not the best thing to do, but almost always Austria or Poland will be willing to ally you against Muscovy, usually, almost always. Poland at the beginning of the game actually starts off rival to Muscovy most of the time, I would say. I don't think I've actually seen a restart where that didn't occur. I've restarted here about 4 or 5 times just to kind of get an idea of the trends that I keep seeing pop up with Novgorod starts. Almost always either Lithuania and Muscovy or Poland and Muscovy will be rival to each other, which can only really benefit you. Getting a defensive alliance with Poland and Austria is really kind of essential. Vassalizing the Livonians is definitely going to be something that you want to do. Prioritizing military tech and military ideas is absolutely going to be something that you're going to want to do. And if you play your cards right, especially, or I would say particularly because you are a Merchant Republic, your control over leaders, and specifically prioritizing military leaders from the aristocratic faction, getting that 5% morale of armies buff because of your aristocratic faction, but also just having military points coming in at a pretty, significant rate, is what allows you to be, 1, farther in military tech than the Muscovites, but 2, if you're able to pick up a military idea group, you're able to get through more ideas on average than the Muscovite player can. I believe they actually start off with a king that's a 3-4-2 or around that, the Muscovites. They start off with the king that's around a 3-4-2. Probably gotta double check. the numbers, but just on average, you know, even if you pick a Republican leader that's a 114, having that 4 military points over the Muscovite leader, and then having a national focus on military tech, on your military points, is just going to put you way ahead of anything that the Muscovites could do. And eventually, you're going to be ahead of military tech against the Muscovites. And Poland will hopefully, after a while, want to either declare war against the Muscovites or help you declare some sort of war. I would say declare war on the Muscovites for reconquest of your territories whenever it is that you feel like Poland, Lithuania, and you could take on successfully the Muscovites. At least that's what I did in this start here, and I've done it a few times actually. And really, it works every time, is having that little bit of a military advantage, not even necessarily in numbers, but you, Poland and Lithuania, and you in particular having that military tech advantage over the Muscovites, and even a couple of ideas in there, not to mention your defensive terrain as far as the Novgorod terrain itself. You have a lot of forests, you have a lot of marshes and things like that, that give you bonuses if you play your cards right. Not to mention the Novgorod province itself is pretty easily defensible, surrounded by forests. All you have to do is just really draw in Muscovite troops to come and attack you, and the attrition for Muscovy is crazy. All these little things add up after a while to really give you some power against Muscovy. He's not as strong as really you would think he is. Even after annexing his vassals and such, Muscovite territory is actually really high in autonomy. Usually every time he annexes a vassal, he gets 60% autonomy in all of those provinces. And if he states the territories, that's when he can put some estates in there. The autonomy will go down a little bit for certain categories, but even then, you know, he's a lot more fragile. Muscovy is actually a lot more fragile than you would kind of think in the beginning, than you would just kind of assume. And so you, Poland and Lithuania, especially if you're ahead of military tech and you have some decent numbers, I would say, after you annex the Livonian Order in the Baltic region, your force limit is around 22 or 23,000 men, which is, you know, nothing to scoff at, especially if you bring in Poland and Lithuania against Muscovy. You're in a pretty good position to actually siege down Moscow, siege down the western parts of Muscovy, get back some of your cores. Pskov is in particular also a very, very important area that you want to conquer. And so that's how you want to defeat Muscovy and get the opening moves as Novgorod. That's at least what I've been able to figure out. A lot of people would say, hey, you know, fight Muscovy to the death in the beginning, and I've tried it multiple times trying to militarily defeat Muscovy, and it's usually just way too difficult. What actually happens most of the time is that you'll fight Muscovy in that beginning war. You won't win against that war, at least from what I found. And even if you do, Denmark actually usually declares on you almost 100% of the time. If you're just too weak and you've expended too much money, too much manpower in trying to defeat Muscovy in that initial engagement, Denmark just comes and ruins everything for you. So I would say just peace out. You can usually get a peace deal for about 54-55% war score. It's a concession. It is a defeat. It's a concession of territory. But honestly, it's not something that will ruin your game. In this particular game, losing is winning. That's just what I found is you need to buy yourself time to, 1, get ahead of military tech, 2, find some allies, and 3, be able to expand a little bit. Taking Tver is actually a relatively prosperous little area, as is Livonian Order. You can actually almost even attack Riga as well if you wanted to get just a little bit more development. Buying yourself that time to get some allies and expand a little bit without being harassed by Muscovy is absolutely essential. And so that's why I think surrendering some territory in the beginning of the game, in that initial engagement, and then coming back from Muscovy at a later time when you have more allies, you have better military tech, that's just the strategy that's worked out best for me. You guys might disagree. Let me know down in the comments below. But yeah, after you beat Muscovy in this initial war, you can take back all your cores basically in one single conflict, because the Reconquest CB just is that good. Once you get back all your cores, it's kind of a done deal. Muscovy will fall to you. You know, it's really not that bad. It's just that initial surrendering of territory is what's absolutely essential. In this run, actually, I went to war with Denmark twice. Denmark declared on me twice, actually. Once when I vassalized the Livonian Order, he got mad about that, so he declared on us. And then a second time, a little bit into the future, when Poland actually was bankrupt and Poland refused to honor my call to arms, I was at war with Denmark. And actually, I beat Denmark. I beat Denmark both times with relatively few losses. We actually got some money and stuff from them. Sweden actually, if you're able to defeat Denmark's troops enough and make them really, really weak, Sweden will actually declare independence, usually ask you to support their independence. So Denmark ceases to be a problem. It's really after that, it's just Muscovy that you have to worry about. And keeping Poland and Lithuania as a bulwark against Muscovy usually works long enough for you to build up your strength enough to defeat Muscovy. So that's what worked for me. That's what I found to be useful. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know if this guide helps you or not, or if you think maybe this is a bad guide or something like that. But this is the strategy that worked for me. So I hope you guys have some fun. Hope you guys can play as Novgorod and have a good time with it. And yeah, that's going to be all for me, guys. So thank you so much for watching as always. And please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Get out there and check out some Novgorod strats and try it for yourself. See if it works for you. So I'll see you guys in the next one.